For most of you guys don't know, Justin, he is like the architect and the brainchild behind a lot of the the products you've seen that we've created. REI Rail and REI Skip. He actually like writes code. That's kind of weird. I read code. He writes it.
It's
I
not
read.
it's not weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I read code. I can't write it. I can just read it. So Justin, give everybody like a little bit of background on how you are in this real estate field a little bit.
Well, man, I'm probably a little older than hopefully I look. I hope I have that Benjamin Button disease. So, but for real estate, man, I started early. Like I was on your podcast earlier, and I think I talked about how me and my mom we used to go look at houses on Sundays. We go
Hmm.
look at model homes like Toll Brothers and K Hop Navian and all the builders. So by the time I was 12, I think I knew every single builder, just because my mom. That's what we used to do after church on Sundays. And then later in life, I always had this interest in real estate. So, I was the kid that bought the no money down flipping CD set from oh man, why can't I think of his name now?
Carlton Sheets, is it?
Yeah, the Carlton Sheets course.
Yeah.
So I still have the CDs. And
What's
then
a
when I got out
CD?
of
No,
huh?
I said, what's a CD again? But I'm just joking, just joking.
Yeah, the Carlton Sheets. It's like no money down. I'll show it to you. I got it in the garage, and I'll show it to you. But so from there, man, like just always having that interest in real estate, and actually how I got into real estate was mortgages. So before I did anything, I was coding, a developer for Anderson Consulting, which later became Accenture. And I met a good buddy of mine who was doing mortgages. And I was like, hey, man, teach me about mortgages, because since I tend to be more analytical, I was like, maybe mortgages could be my entryway into real estate.
Hmm.
And so he taught me mortgages, and man, look up about 3 years later, we owned a mortgage company. So it
Wow.
went from doing loans to becoming a broker to becoming a lender, and then becoming VP of a larger correspondent lender, where I ran like underwriting and secondary mortgages, the secondary marketing piece of it, where we sold mortgages to Wall Street and all that. So that's where I started to learn really the essence of the real estate deal. And then from there, I got into hard money, and I actually started lending money.
Hmm.
I started lending other people's money, and then I would even lend my own money for like smaller hard money deals. Then when I learned hard money deals, that's when I really started to understand the structure of a real estate deal, and did a couple commercial real estate deals too. So I got my chops there. Now my business partner and I at the time, who had this mortgage company, we had about 85, close to 100 loan officers working for us.
Hmm.
And then we got into, developing our own properties. So we started buying properties around DC, flipping them. We would wholesale some. And then, probably by 2008, 2009, between the mortgages and the flipping I was doing with my business partner, I probably have participated in 500, like almost 1,000 deals, like well over 500, somewhere between 500 and 1,000. I don't know.
Hmm.
But my own personal deals, probably about, 50 plus personal deals that we did in terms of like flipping, rehabbing, that sort of thing, and also wholesaling. And then the crash hit, 2008, 2009, and went back to developing, to coding, and kind of got my feelings hurt. Had a lot of life things going, a lot of life issues going on at the time, and just focused on my family, focused on my daughters, and man, then Vince kind of pulled me back in, like around
You and
2013.
Vince went to school together, right?
Yeah, man, we went to UVA, and I was actually his peer advisor. So I was part of this program called the Peer Advisor Program, which was through the House of African American Affairs,
Hmm.
and it was an advisor program where older black students, African American students would be paired with incoming African American students, and basically teach them the ropes, like, and just be a resource for them. And I was paired with Vince. And quickly I realized, I was like, well, man, I can't teach you anything. You teach me.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, it's a smart dude, man. And so, and then from there, man, we just became brothers for life. I mean, just, best friends and brothers for life.
That makes sense. And he should be on the stream later. He's also having a stream later tonight at 9, I believe, right? So like as soon as this ends, he's jumping right into another stream. And I'll let him talk more about that when he comes on. So you and Vince link up, and then what goes on from there?
So Vince, I'd known a little bit about wholesaling, obviously, because I had participated in it. But when I was when I did wholesale deals, it was, it truly was because like we just didn't have time for this deal. We had too much going on, and so we were like, let's just wholesale this deal. We didn't actually at the time, back in 2009, like 2007, 2008, see it as like a thing to do, and because back then, the stigma was wholesaling was for people who didn't have money. It wasn't seen as like the thing that people wanted to do. And so fast forward 2013, Vince had gone to a Sean Terry course. Now at the time, to a seminar, one of those weekend seminars for Sean Terry. And at the time, Vince was working on Wall Street. I think he was working at Prudential Capital. And he had worked at various, he was doing like mergers and acquisitions. He was doing like big $100 million+ deals. I think like where he was at, they wouldn't look at anything below like 50 million or something. That was a small deal. And so he was learning like these huge merger acquisition strategies, but he was getting burnt out. He was getting tired. And he also had a love for real estate too, because his, just like me learning from my mom, he learned the game and just got the thirst for the game from his dad. And so went to that Sean Terry thing, and then kind of got hip to wholesaling. And next thing you know, this dude's doing like, I'm not gonna put his numbers out there, but he started doing major numbers. Left his job, and then he would call me and say, "Hey, Just, I need you to build this website for me, or I need you to create a calculator that calculates ARV." And so he, and he knew that I was technical, and he knew that I had a real estate background, specifically the analytical side of real estate, like how to analyze deals. So he would call me and ask questions like, well, what do you think about this? And I would be like, well, back in my underwriting days, we would look at it like that, And so I would take his concepts of what he was learning about how the game was being played today, and then kind of couple that with the analytical underwriting side with the experience that I had running a mortgage operation, doing hard money, and just also having done deals myself. But primarily, flipping and rehabbing. So we kind of had like a merger of the minds, and I would be doing these little tools. So then after a while, Vince was like, "Dude, this wholesaling thing is going to be huge." He was talking about legislation that was coming. Like he was looking at like what was about to happen, like he does. Yeah, like 4 or 5 years down the road. And so into one thing, and it's something that we could put out there for people. So I was like, all right, well, cool. That sounds like fun. At the same time, I wanted to learn new technologies because at my job, I was kind of pigeonholed. Like I was sort of managing a large group of developers. I was running like a really large project. It was like a $40 million plus project, but I wasn't a coder on the project. I was more of the architect and the guy helping to run the show. I was sort of like the manager. And so I was sort of aching to get my hands dirty again with something that I loved. And I had always promised myself when I left the mortgage industry that I was going to come back to real estate and build something beautiful, because my experience was that the products in real estate and the products in the mortgage industry, they just weren't what I thought, was beautiful. I felt like it was like industries that were overlooked by the bigger companies that were building the big enterprise stuff. So I was like, this is my opportunity to do that, and do it with my brother who I love, and do it with a subject matter that I love. So that's how we started. And the first product we built together was Whozip, which was basically a dispo platform.
Way ahead of his time.
Yeah, and back then also we built, I believe we built now this might be controversial.
It
I
is
believe
the
we,
truth, though.
I believe we built the first Driving for Dollars app.
You did.
I don't know that there was one that existed prior to us, but we never put it out as like a thing. It just was part of the website. I think the problem with WhoZip was that it did too much. It did so much stuff. So it got traction, but where we really got traction was when I got called by a buddy of mine, a friend of yours, who was, running a larger operation here in the Northern Virginia area.
One of the largest.
One of the largest, and maybe at the time, he eventually became, I think, the largest wholesaler
Correct.
outside of companies like New Western and all that. But
he was a full operation in the sense that he had acquisitions. His acquisitions were from his own marketing efforts.
Right. And so it's funny because I saw him in the gym one day, and he was like, Justin, I'm building, some systems and I need help, and I'm basically losing money. So he was buying so many properties, like he would forget about properties that he even had, and next thing you know, they're losing, 6-figure numbers per month instead of making money. So he was like, man, I'm putting a small team together to try to figure this out. I was like, cool, I'll come in. So I consulted for him. And I said, hey, man, you need to really look at wholesaling. I think you really need to become a wholesaler. And in this conversation that we had in the gym, he was like, isn't wholesaling for people who don't have money? And I was like, I think that's what it used to be in terms of how people perceived it. But honestly, if you look at it, it's probably the smartest thing that you can do, because you've got, he's a master marketer. And he's also the person who I credit, who I really started to understand and really enjoy marketing and like copywriting. I learned that from him. And but what he learned from us was, really how to take his wholesaling practice, how to start a wholesaling practice, how to create technology and a platform around it, because he ended up using the WhoZip platform to really sort of
systematize it.
Right. How to power his business, at least power the disposition aspect of his business to really get his properties out there. And so we were part of that. Next thing you know, he's making 7 figures a month. And so there were a couple other people that he had there that were employed there too, really, really smart, intelligent guys. And so it was a fun experience to see how we could kind of play a role in turning the shop around, but also when you put a bunch of bright minds together, what can happen? Because he also had some really, really smart guys working for him as well.
So just talking about like the technology side of wholesaling, I think a lot of people, obviously this is live for people that are watching, but a lot of what happened in wholesaling and really in the real estate investment industry in the last 3 years has leaps and bounds. It's like the iPhone was invented inside the real estate investment industry in the last 3 years. So we went from Palm Pilots to iPhones 3 years ago. 3 years ago. You can really look at, because you've been in it early before I was, you can really say how much technology has transformed wholesaling to where it levels the playing field. With everybody essentially.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think, we did a lot of firsts, right? I think we were the first national dispo platform that was geared and designed for wholesalers. It didn't get the traction that we wanted. And then Vince and I were like, well, we need to get on the deal side and on the lead generation side. And that's when we started the first concept around REI Rail started. And then when we sort of brought in the RVM piece, we were like, nobody around, no products were embedding RVM in their products in a way that I felt was beautiful, or in a way that allowed you to schedule it around, busy people who had jobs, with an interface that made sense, that was easy to understand, and all of that. And then that's when, obviously we met you, and then you joined the conversation and was like, we need to kind of put this whole thing together, and this is what you need to do. So you brought that real resourceful in the game, what's happening at this very moment, what's the cutting edge that we were able to add into the product at the right time. And so I think, when you talk about like technology and how it's impacted wholesalers, I think a renaissance sort of happened over the last 3 years, as far as when you look at companies like Open Door, you look at companies like Knock, OfferPad, you look at New Western Acquisition, the big boys started paying attention to the wholesaling game, and they started realizing, wait a minute, there's a lot of money here. And then obviously when there's a lot of money, people start to follow and start trying to, and so in order for them to get the upper hand and the competitive edge, they're going to start building technology. And then if they've got billions of dollars in their pocket, well, then how is the little guy going to be able to compete who doesn't have that level of products?
Yeah.
So, our goal was always to give people that enterprise level, multi-million-dollar level software so that they could compete against the big guys. Right. And so it was almost like a race against some of these bigger companies in terms of offering technology so that the local wholesaler could actually compete and stay competitive even against a company like Open Door. And I think that's what we did. I think we were one of the first companies to really, really do that. And then you saw a lot of other companies coming in offering really great technology because I think just the bar had been raised. And a lot of even a lot of guys who build products now, like they come in and they thank us and they say, you guys really helped raise the bar with this whole technology around, specifically around, the REI world, and thanked us, because these are other guys who were building what I call beautiful products. So guys like Dave over at Deal Machine, Doug and Robert, over at PLM and realestateinvestor.com. Like these guys are building great stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's really changed the game. Like you talk about like the big guys coming in, and that's what happens. Anytime you start seeing the small guys start making a lot of noise and a lot of money, you can bet your bottom dollar that that Wall Street money is coming right behind them. And that's right. What these big guys are. Somebody said Open Door was the reason why they quit. And that's not a good reason why you should quit. I know
you need to go ahead and
unquit.
Send unquit. Send a DM to Max, and we can get you competing against them.
Because the real thing is that I know wholesalers that have sold deals to Open Door. And the reason is because Open Door doesn't have a winning model yet. It's going to take them a while to get there.
So one of the things that Vince and I did was we opened up REI Rail community to the world, right? So first it was only if you're an REI Rail member. Now you can still join REI Rail community, but we need you to respect our members. If you want to get some of the information that we're giving out, we want you to respect our members. The other thing is like if you're going to come in there and ask questions that you can get in Wholesaling Houses Elite, don't come to REI Rail community. Stay in Wholesaling Houses Elite, right?
Or Google,
right? So the REI Rail community is specific around like technology. The REI Rail community is specific around like technology and industry trends and that sort of thing. So if you join REI Rail community, every Friday at 1:00, Vince and I, and sometimes Max will come join us. We do what's called office hours, and it's basically us talking about industry trends, technology trends. We keep you abreast of like what Open Door's doing, what OfferPad's doing, what the markets are doing, if there are hedge funds out there who are putting money in this space, because we want to build inroads to all of that.